but we will start where we love to start, with the NFL and the National Football League. And I wish if we were in studio, I'd have my Patrick Mahomes wig on, because we're going to talk about Patrick Mahomes' contract situation. We'll bring in LaVar Arrington from his crib to help us do that. But Patrick Mahomes, according to the Kansas City Star and Sam Mellinger, columnist for the Kansas City Star, the Kansas City Chiefs feel confident that they will sign Patrick Mahomes to a new contract before the 2020 season. The contract is supposed to be like nothing we've seen before. Really not a whole lot to discuss to me in terms of Patrick Mahomes here, because they should just put a contract in front of him, let him fill out the number of zeros and commas that are on the dollar amount, and then just sign the deal. What I'm interested in, Marcellus, and we'll also bring in LaVar Arrington, is how this might impact Dak Prescott's contract situation in Dallas. Should Patrick Mahomes' contract situation have any impact at all on Dak Prescott?
Absolutely it should. We all know that responsibility that comes from your contract negotiation and hopefully setting a new bar. And we talk about Patrick Mahomes, we know basically this is the perfect quarterback. We haven't seen this ever in NFL history. That's why they're going to tear up his rookie deal and give him the most money in NFL history. But that said, a rising tide lifts all boats, even yachts. And Dak is sitting there on a yacht right now, kind of like Jerry Jones was during the NFL draft, saying, ooh, wee. Now, this is a different negotiation, so it's going to have to trickle down to Dak, but he's still going to feel the positive effect of Patrick Mahomes setting a new standard. And let's talk about what that means to a Dak Prescott who hasn't missed a start in his entire career. Let's talk about a guy who's top 5 in passer rating. He's going to have ammunition to try and close that gap between him and Patrick Mahomes, and that's why Dak is going to feel the positive benefits. This is the NFL that used to look at its greatest quarterback, the GOAT and Tom Brady, and most other quarterbacks would sit there upset because Tom Brady entered every negotiation in terms of his success and him taking less. Well, this is the first time in a long time they can point at the best and actually say everyone else is going to get more because the best has set a new standard.
I tend to agree with that. I think the contract situation with Mahomes will impact Dak directly as well. And here's the reason why. Right now, the negotiations are being based off of Russell Wilson. It's being based off of that S550 that's being driven on the streets right now. It's got nice shiny rims. It's got all kinds of different makes and additions and upgrades to it. But it don't look the same once that new model comes out and it's released and people start driving it. So right now we're looking at Dak Prescott and we're saying, okay, we're basing it off of the current long-term big deal contracts. Whereas if Patrick Mahomes gets this deal done before Dak Prescott gets his done, it probably will justify why Dak Prescott was asking for the number that he's asking for and not considered to be the best in the game. Right? It will still be justified to say, well, if I am a franchise quarterback for your team and you're going to give me a long-term deal, why would you give me a long-term deal that is comparable to an obsolete deal, like the deals that will look obsolete once Mahomes signs this new deal? So somewhere in between where Mahomes is and where Russell Wilson is, if this deal gets done, it will directly impact Dak Prescott's negotiations.
I'm going to jump off of Marcellus's analogy about a rising tide lifting all boats. Marcellus called Dak a yacht. I don't agree with that. Patrick Mahomes is a yacht. Lamar Jackson is a yacht. Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, those are yachts. They go out into the ocean. Dak Prescott is a lake boat. If you've ever been on a lake, there's some nice party lake boats, and they ride around in lakes. But they're nothing like a yacht. And so when you're in the lake, don't compare yourself to the ships that are out there in the ocean. And so you're right. Patrick Mahomes' deal is going to lift other yachts. And if I'm Lamar Jackson, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I'm like, oh, yeah, go get that money. because you are lifting up yachts. But if you're in a lake, what goes on in the ocean, there really aren't tides in a lake. And to me, when you're 8-8 and you had a career year, but your team went 8-8, and you're really not a guy that drives the ship. Ezekiel Elliott does. Your defense, your offensive line, all the pieces around you. You gotta. What goes on with Patrick Mahomes, to me, has virtually nothing to do with Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott is a $30, $28, $25 million a year quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is a $50, $45 million a year quarterback. Those are two separate planets. So I just don't think it should have any impact on Dak's deal.
Man, you embarked up the wrong tree here, man. You're talking to a former boat owner, yacht owner. Yachts don't have to be huge, man. It's funny, a 23-footer is a yacht. Now, what you're talking about, those mega yachts with helipads on them and stuff, I get it. That's Patrick Mahomes. That is not Dak Prescott. But you don't pass Dak Prescott in the ocean and sneeze at him and laugh at him, because he is sitting there on some stable ground route right now in terms of what his production has put him in position to get. Patrick Mahomes is ideal. This is a guy who not only raises the bar, but sets the ceiling. Whatever Patrick Mahomes gets is the max. But if you're Dak Prescott, you'll ride that wave. You'll ride that wake. But don't forget, there was a Jimmy G just 2 years ago. And this is what every other quarterback was smiling about. Jimmy G raising that bar. And you see a Jimmy G who's lesser than, who raises the ceiling to a new level. Dak Prescott sits there and says, oh, that's the minimum. Now, between a minimum of where Jimmy G was, which turned into Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, and then Patrick Mahomes with his $50 million a year we're projecting. Dak Prescott sits there and loves the fact that he's going to benefit from all of the luxury that they're going to pour at Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I would just add, if you're going to say you're a piece to winning the Super Bowl and you're a piece of that puzzle, and I'm the franchise quarterback, the most important player, you still gotta price it within market value. And I think if Mahomes gets this deal done before Dak gets his done, then people will all of a sudden probably look at Dak and say it was probably wise for him not to just go ahead and just sign a deal.
All right, let's drill down a little bit deeper on Dak Prescott. Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports, during a radio interview, made an interesting comment about what's been going on with Dak Prescott. I believe he said that in September of last year, when Dak got off to a hot start, the Cowboys could not have felt more burned than they did when they went back to Dak's camp last September and the number went up. And that was really a hurtful point. I think they were not only upset at Dak's representation, I think they were a little upset at Dak Prescott. This is after they got off to the hot 3-0 start. Dak looked terrific. All right, Marcellus, do you blame the Cowboys for feeling this way if Dak came back to the table?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, look, nobody cares about your emotions in this contract negotiation. That doesn't end until there are two signatures on that new deal. And that's on the Cowboys for not signing Dak and getting them on the cheap while they had the opportunity. They should have saw this coming, that Dak Prescott was going to get more expensive based on what we saw from others in his draft class. Let's talk about Jared Goff getting paid, Carson Wentz getting paid, and having comparable, if not lesser, resumes individually than Dak Prescott. So this is a situation where when you look at it and you see in the draft class after him, only one person's been extended, and that's Christian McCaffrey, who resets the running back market. You better be smart, and you need to be ahead of the curve in terms of taking care of your franchise quarterback. The Dallas Cowboys didn't do that, and now they're suffering that tax bill that comes with an appreciating asset like Dak Prescott.
Yeah, if there's a blame to be levied, it would have to be against the Dallas Cowboys for the simple fact that this is your franchise guy. So respect that and try to find what the fair market value of what he brings to the table is. When you come to Dak and you're saying, well, we're going to try to offer you this, but you're already playing. You watched Ezekiel hold out and wait for a new contract. Dak didn't create any waves that way. Dak was a good employee. He was a good company guy, so to speak. And now you're in a situation where that whole the contract negotiation of Patrick Mahomes has been out there. It's going to stay out there. So you could say, my feelings are hurt that we offered you what we feel is a fair market value contract. You could say your feelings are hurt that he didn't take it and wanted to ask for more. But it comes back to my earlier analogy. Don't offer that man a 2019 S550 when you know that the next dude's coming is going to be pushing that 2020 new model with the new dome lights and the glitter on the top of the ceiling with suede. You can't do that to the guy.
No.
Look, y'all know I'm the king of very inappropriate analogies, and I'm about to make another one. And I just want to, Dak lacks self-awareness, and I don't blame the Cowboys for being upset. It's like me when I was in my 20s. Occasionally, I would put work in, and I would be like, wow, I'm a beast in here. And the girl would be looking at me like, I don't know who you really are. I can judge you off a whole body of work. And that's not really who you are. And so it wasn't until I was in my 40s and 50s and got self-aware. It's like, hey, this is who I am. Yes, I may occasionally get off a performance that exposes me as something else, but the reality is I'm not that guy. Stay in your lane, realize who you are, don't go overexcited because, I got off to a nice 3-0 start. I really laid it down this time. You can lose yourself in that. You're better off knowing exactly who you are and accepting that. And I don't blame the Cowboys for looking at that like, nah, man, we know what you are. You a three.
What you talking about? Cleaning the kitchen.
3-0. But can you extend? Can you extend that whole thing out over a 16-game schedule? I don't blame the Cowboys.
Yeah. It's funny, Jason. Headline: you are not Dak Prescott. And I'm about to just give you who Dak Prescott is to really bring that point home. Dak Prescott right now is fourth in the MVP projections next year. And you know who's first? Patrick Mahomes. So Dak's in some good company there. Let's talk about Dak and his draft class. And don't forget, Jared Goff and Carson Wentz already got mega deals. And Pro Football Focus in Dak's 4 years compared to those other guys twice has rated out as the best quarterback. The other guys only got one. He got it twice. Let's talk about who Dak Prescott is when you talk about what he's going to do at the negotiating table. This is a guy who, even when you factor in, I love the fact that you walk down this rabbit hole. You factor in that Dak, week 4 through 17, fell off the cliff a little bit, some decline there, right? So let's take away his 3 best weeks and just look at week 4 through 17. Do you know what that quarterback rating was? The same as a 13-win NFC championship going Aaron Rodgers. You know what that quarterback rating was? Even when you factor in the decline, higher than Tom Brady in his 12-win season. So when you're Dak Prescott, Todd France, going to the negotiating table, you got to shoot harder than that, brother, because Dak has ammunition.
All I'm going to say to this is the NFC East is I know it is a very weak division. For your record to be so poor, it is very difficult to justify saying that if I'm good within the East or I'm average within the East, coming out of the East with that type of a record is going to lead to a Super Bowl. I would have apprehension about looking at the numbers based off of how simple sometimes the NFC East and top-heavy the NFC East can be at times. Just reality.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. And be sure to check out more of the best clips from Speak For Yourself or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.